kind of be taking you through what's called the relationship inventory process. And I've taken about, I don't know, at this point, probably 75 couples through it. Now, what's a little interesting for me is this is the first time I've taken somebody that I just met. Usually I've, done at least one session with a couple before doing it. So that's going to be a little bit interesting for me. And really the purpose is just for you two to really get a sense of how you each are experiencing the relationship. And we're not going to go into any blame or shame or judgment. Quite the contrary, it's actually usually an opportunity to go closer to each other, because you're going to probably find that there's certain areas where you're very in alignment. And there might be areas where you discover that one or the other would like to work on a certain part of the relationship more. So again, that's kind of part of what we're going to discover from this, okay?
Cool.
I always like to, I love that. You can stop and look at each other as much as you want. That's very important.
Cool.
And actually, there in a moment, I'm going to have you look at each other. But I always like to also check in first just to see how well resourced you are right now, today, this moment. Have you had enough rest, food? Are you in a relaxed place, stressed? How are you each doing?
Good.
Yeah, I feel good. Like we've just been enjoying the day, and we felt a little bit like, oh crap, we got to get ready to like get on the call. But other than that, like I feel good.
Okay, great. Good.
Yeah.
All right. And how's the quality of your connection with each other right now?
I feel good about it.
Good.
Yeah, we were having a really lovely interaction earlier, and yeah, it's been good.
I like the Charlie eyebrow maneuver.
They tend to do that.
Yeah, I can tell he knows how to work the eyebrows.
They're just so prominent. Why not?
Yeah, that's great. All right, well, I'd like us just to start, before we go into the inventory, I'd like you to turn around and face each other, please, and get comfortable, because you're going to look at each other for a couple of minutes.
Okay.
Great. And go ahead and just drop into an eye gaze. And it's not a stare-out contest. You can blink and smile, but just kind of slowing down the breath a little bit and dropping in and looking into the eyes of this amazing partner that you're doing life with. Yeah, and as you're looking at each other, I want you to each think of a specific moment where you felt really well loved or taken care of by this person. A specific moment. And after you both have that moment in mind, and take as much time as you like, but once you have that moment in mind, maybe just give a little thumbs up so we know both have your one in mind, and then you can share it. Okay. Charlie, you want to go first?
When we eloped and went to Maui and got married.
You got married. And what about that? I mean, of course, it sounds pretty obvious, but is there a particular instant, like a particular photograph moment that you went, wow, this woman really loves me?
When we were in a dream together.
Mm-hmm.
There was these like dark entities, and we were both. You played that game Street Fighter. Oh, you can! You shoot the chi ball. So we were both like turning on these like beams, and then the dark figure would like.
They were trying to
Clear.
push us into a doorway. Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm.
So we would shoot it together, and it would like clear up and like be mellow. And there was another one, and we both like shot it, and it mellowed out. And then there was this third one, and we shot it with our light, and it didn't change. So we just kept going, and it didn't change. And then like I woke up, and I was like, keep shining your light, Don. Just keep shining, keep going.
No, you actually said to me, because I woke up first, because I got irritated. And I opened my eyes, and you sat up in bed, and you go, why did you stop? Why did you stop giving them light? And I was like, whoa, we were in the same dream.
Wow, that is very cool. That is very cool. Beautiful.
That's how I remember it.
That's,
Yeah, that's very cool. Wow. And so, Don, what memory came up for you of when you really felt loved or well taken care of by Charlie?
I'm going to use a really current experience. I think that in a time when I really needed someone to care for me and needed him the most, he completely showed up for me. And, because I think it's really easy when life is great. It's really easy to feel, loved all the time, but it's like the moments when you're having a really difficult time, I find when you learn about people the most, right?
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
And so I was having a really challenging time with all my stuff was stolen, and I was in a really, really devastated, raw, vulnerable place with that because it wasn't something that I had wanted, or I was just left in a very vulnerable place. And he immediately was reassuring to me and be like on the phone, because I was even in a different state, and
Oh, wow.
I was handling it well and very connected and loving myself through the process. But I felt really, you showed up for me 110 billion% in that moment, and it meant everything to me because he picked me up from the airport, and I was in such a raw place, and he just like scooped me up and held me, and he was like, it's gonna be okay. And simultaneously, it's don't worry about it, and then simultaneously he had a blessing on the table, which his boss, up to his hours and gave him a new position. And so where it perceived in my world was a lack and like a loss, it was transformed into like him being the rock for us at that time.
Yeah.
And he like rubbed my feet, and just I was able to cry and like release, and it's just beautiful. And he's like, you know what, we got this, we're gonna do this together, and it's totally okay. And
Wow.
it just reassured me in a place where I really needed it.
That's beautiful, Charlie. That's really, really cool. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So, another question, as you look at each other, what's a character strength that the other one has that you really admire? And if possible, choose something that you haven't commonly said before. So what's a character strength or virtue that the other one has that really inspires you?
Do you want me to go, or do you want me to go?
Sure. Well, I thought it was just me growing up, but I was very much like that kid Linus in the Peanuts.
With the security
I had
blanket?
a blanket everywhere with me because I was like, cool, if I take a nap, I'm prepared and ready to go. And then I read it, and it was like, it's a tourist thing. Like, we like to sleep a lot. Like, I thought I just had a problem. I was like, I need 12 hours of sleep. Like, what's wrong with me? So we used to like snuggle a whole bunch when we first started dating. But there's definitely an admiration for her ability to just like get up like after we've been like raging it at night, and like if she's got things to do, like she's like up and like functioning full like human, like no coffee, just like getting some shit done. And it's like, wow.
Thanks.
Yeah. So her energy level is something that really amazes you. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. The ability to just get out of bed and just move and groove is
Wow. Beautiful. Okay. And how about for you, Dawn? What's a character strength or virtue that Charlie has that you admire or really are impressed with?
I am very impressed with his capacity to, he rarely gets upset about things. And he always has a very deeply optimistic and patient way of approaching anything in life. And it's a virtue of his for sure. When I could get a little more flustered or frustrated, or I'm quicker in my speed of how I process and how I do things. And I think that he is a little more like slow and steady in a way in his nature. And I think that really is a virtue that comes across very well when it comes to communicating and people, and super charismatic. Like everyone that is in your life like loves and adores you, and it's like you have this very how do I say it, like charismatic yet like deeply compassionate nature, and it come and patience with deep patience tied in there, and it's really a beautiful thing to watch how you care for others, how you care for Vision and I. You're just steady all the time with your love.
Beautiful. Wow.
Thank
If
you.
things don't work out with you two, can I have Charlie for a night?
We could
Don't
butt
worry,
heads.
Charlie, I'm not gay.
We could butt
But
heads. I'm happy.
I mean, I'm getting to know you. It's like, wow, this guy, you got yourself a keeper.
I do.
Yeah, beautiful. So periodically, I'm probably going to just look to the camera and give some notes to my love coaches. And one is that
I
clearly
love
this is clearly this is a couple that's doing well, and which is a delight. It's wonderful to work with couples that are doing well. Sadly, most of the time that I'm working with couples, it's because they're struggling. Yeah, and so the little practices I just did. Often couples come and they're nervous, they're anxious, maybe they're ready to unload, and they're feeling disconnected. And so those questions that I asked you are wonderful ways to help couples feel connected, to remember love. And I always, before, especially before taking people through a relationship inventory process, I want to make sure that the couple feels connected. They're remembering that they love each other and that they're in partnership with each other. Um, so that we're using this to understand each other even more fully, right? Because it's all built on the foundation of a loving partnership, which clearly you two have. Um, so, anyway, beautiful. All right, here's what's going to happen. I am going to actually put the spotlight on you because you're more interesting than I am. I'm going to be more like just the guy up there asking a question or two. Um, and so I'm going to ask you, how do you do as, and then I'm going to fill in the blank with something. And I can tell you what the first one is going to be. The first one is, how do you do as friends? And when I ask the question, I'm going to ask you to notice on a scale of 1 to 10, what comes to mind. And notice first what that first number is that comes. Now, you don't have to stay with the first number, but it's always kind of interesting to just notice what the first number is that pops into your brain before you overthink it. Um, it can be a range because, of course, in all the different categories of relationship, sometimes it's higher, sometimes it's lower. But I'm kind of looking for what in general is the number. And let's say for 2020 so far. So in other words, we're not looking at the whole last, because you've been together 10 years, is it?
16.
16 years. Wow, yeah. So we're just looking at where things are right now. So let's just say from approximately the start of the year to now. Um, so you can have a range. You can say, it goes from a 6 to a 9. You are not allowed to be influenced by the other one's number. So, so the way we handle that, I trust you, is I'm going to give, the question. And then when both of you have your number in mind, you give a thumbs up. And then we'll go back and forth. Charlie will give his number, and then you'll give your number. Then I'll ask the next question. And periodically, we might stop and talk about it. If something comes up, if we notice that there's a difference in the way you see it, or there's, what makes it a bigger range, then we'll explore that a little bit. Does that sound good?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
And I'm going to actually keep track. I've got my little scorecard here. So I'm going to put the numbers in, and then I'll send them to you later on. So you'll actually have a record of this. All right?
Relationship assessment.
Yeah. Yeah. So you already know the first one. How do the two of you do as friends? How do you do as friends on a scale of 1 to 10? When you have your number in mind, give me a thumbs up or a wink. Okay. She got a little bit faster than Charlie did. So what came up for you, Dawn?
I think we make great friends. So I would say on a scale of 8 to 10, I feel, on 1 to 10, it's 8 to 10.
8 to 10, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And what came up for you, Charlie?
9.5.
Wow. All right. So give me a moment because I'm going to be putting these in. There's not too much to explore there. I think that's pretty clear. But the next question is, how do you do as best friends? And what I mean by best friends is, best friend, you can tell this person anything and you know they got your back. Now, you kind of already gave an example of that, Dawn. So again, this might not take too time, but how do you do as best friends, really being able to tell this person anything? Okay, Charlie this time.
10.
10? Dawn?
I was going to say 9.5.
It's okay. Remember, you're not allowed to change it because of what he said. So, okay, I'm putting that in.
Well, now I want to change my first answer.
Why?
You have the one child, Vision? Okay. And how old is Vision?
9.
9.
We have a dog and a cat too, if that counts.
Hey, listen, my dog is right here by my feet, so those are my kids.
You could let him in the room. He's probably waiting outside the door.
You can let him in if need be. How do you do as co-parents? How do you do on a scale of 1 to 10 as co-parents?
In our opinion or in Vision's opinion?
Definitely your opinion. But you know what? It would be interesting, actually, your opinion first, but I would be curious to see what you think Vision would say too. So that's kind of a little extra credit question there.
Okay, extra credit. Okay. How we're doing.
Yeah, how do you do as co-parents? Charlie?
10.
Wow. Now, if you guys are going to be all 10s, this is not going to be very educational for my people, I tell you. But that's okay. It's beautiful.
I don't think you've gotten to the topics yet.
Yeah. Well, we'll hopefully get there. No, it's beautiful. How do you think Vision, what would Vision say? What would Vision say?
Let's ask him.
I think he knows we're at 10, but he's going to give us like a 6 or 7.
Yeah. Now, does he, and how old is Vision again?
9.
9. So has he learned how to play one versus the other, like which one of you to ask for different things?
He's been doing that since like, yeah.
Yeah. So who's the softie between the two of you? Who's the soft touch?
What? Totally her. Totally her.
Really?
For sure.
It depends on the topics, I think.
Sure.
Yeah.
If he wants something.
He does come to me all the time. It's true.
Not that I don't spoil him.
No, we both do. We spoil him all the time, but yeah.
Beautiful.
Like, even if Carlos will say no, and then I'm behind him, he'll still come to me. Even in the car earlier, he'll still be like, Mom.
Beautiful. Well, he's blessed to have the two of you as parents, clearly. You know, you really
We're blessed to have him.
Yeah,
Did you want to ask him?
Maybe later. Let's stay with this. So, there's going to be 2 questions, but they're kind of connected. This is where we get into the juicy stuff. How you two do as lovers, but there's 2 parts. One part is how you do with emotional intimacy, because of course, especially in a long-term marriage, emotional intimacy tends to be the aphrodisiac. And then how you actually do in the bedroom. And I know that, you know, I hope that that's not too, you don't have to get specific, but...
Eyebrows.
Yeah, here come the eyebrows.
Whoa.
We'll start with the emotional intimacy. How do you do with emotional intimacy? Really revealing vulnerability, insecurities, fear, talking, you know, really deeply about intimate topics. How do you guys do with that one?
Intimate topic.
Yeah. Okay, so I had to put my thumb up at the end.
Okay, I think it's Dawn's turn first.
I would say, and the question is around love, like specifically in the bedroom with love making, emotional intimacy there?
No,
or just in general in life?
In general, yeah. I mean, not necessarily, hey, hi, how are you? but more like cuddle talk, not necessarily leading
Oh,
to
we're
sexual,
yeah,
but
we're
really
5 on the.
sharing. Yeah.
I would say I would say it's a 9 for me,
Mhm.
and then I would say in the bedroom it could be upper in the upper area. There's areas there where it's like I know it would be more satisfying for him.
Mhm.
So I would say it needs to be increased on my end.
Okay.
So that's like a
S-
5 or a 6.
Oh, thank you. That's really honest for you. Really, really honest. Wow, we got something lower than an 8. So something to work with here.
But it's
Um,
not something that it's not known between us. We talk about it. We're
yeah.
open. We were cuddling and having moments and chat about it earlier. So
So just to be in, if because I'm writing this down, so my understanding, Dawn, is that you do really great with the emotional intimacy, but you're in the awareness that at least you perceive that you'd like to provide more for Charlie.
yes.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for being honest about that. Charlie, what are your numbers? And then I've got a couple questions for you.
When we first got together, I experienced Kundalini lovemaking for the first time.
Oh, wow.
I only made that face because of my. Anyway, yeah. So, and that was pretty special. That was pretty amazing. Um, whoa. And then, whoa, I'm going there. Here we go. Whoa, no. Okay. Yeah. I was gonna stop there. Stop while I'm ahead.
No, I mean, listen, 16 years. I mean, you two have a beautiful marriage, clearly. The love between you two is inspiring after 16 years. The way you look at each other, the way you're smiling with each other. I mean, there's a beautiful, beautiful bond there. And there's a lot of couples that aren't even making love after 5 years, let alone 16 years. So, um, it's and again, you don't have to share
Really?
anything that feels
Well,
private,
What
but
happened? Yeah.
oh yeah, you'd be amazed. You'd be amazed. I would say the majority of couples that I work with that have been together for 5 years or more make love once a month.
Well,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I'll tell you why, and actually this is for any love coach watching. As we get older, we tend to become less and less confident in how attractive we are. And obviously, the honeymoon period wears off, new relationship energy wears off. And as we get older, we feel less attractive. We're not getting the same juice from our partner usually that we were initially, or that, creates arousal. And then if we've tried to initiate lovemaking and the partner has, for whatever reason, not been in the mood or not been into it, then it's human nature to take it personally as a rejection. And if that happens enough times, and for some people it's once, and for some people it's 10 times, but if it happens enough times, then it's like, okay, fine, I'm not going to even try, you know. And then both parties, very often, both parties are in a waiting for the other one to initiate it because they're too insecure to initiate it. And it just becomes kind of this like, growing apart that way that happens. Oh, I mean, I've worked with 100 couples, literally 100 couples, where some variation of what I just described has taken place. And I will then immediately prescribe one quality date per week. And it's amazing to see how people will then, they'll schedule it and then they won't do it, right? So it's a sad state of affairs actually for a lot of couples have been long time been together for a long time, especially if they have children, and then that becomes the excuse. The kids are this, the kids are that. So yeah.
no.
Anyway, I never got numbers from you, Charlie. Emotional
Uh,
intimacy. Let's start with them.
emotionally 10.
Okay.
emotionally attached. In the bed.
Be honest, it's okay.
No, I'm shy. What number did you say? 6?
She said 5 to 6.
Yeah, 5 to 6.
You playing it safe? I love you. You can be honest.
I'm being honest.
It's okay.
Yeah. So here's a wonderful way to. I'd love for you, Charlie, to remember a time. You don't have to go into any graphic detail, but just remember a time when it was a recent time, recent being anytime in the last year or two, that it was really special for you. And just remembering that time and sharing it with her, because as a coach, and this is for you guys coaching, watching, it's always more wonderful to remember when it was really the way we liked it, instead of having the couple focus on what they're not getting, right? Because if we focus on what he's not getting, she might get defensive, he might not. But if we're remembering, wow, this is what I really like, or this was a time that was really special for me. Now we're anchoring in a positive memory, which is a much more positive way to raise the numbers up higher. Does that make sense?
Mm. Mm.
So when's a time that it was just like, yeah, that was really, really, really yummy and special?
You're asking him or me?
Both of you. Both. Well, Dawn got hers first, so I'll let Dawn go first.
The time that comes to mind for me is when I was going through graduate school. I had this deep, heart-opening realization that I was withholding love, and that it was just an unconscious pattern that I needed to lay down in our marriage. And I think that there had been roles that were taken on between us, that, like, he was kind of occupying more of a feminine role and I was occupying more of a masculine role in our marriage for a long time. And I think now we're in that period of rebalance completely, because I initiated it 2 years ago. I finished graduate school in August. So, but while I was in graduate school, I had this deep, like, healing happen with me around withholding. And it was just all in the spectrum of healing my curriculum with my father, and like it was all interwoven. And so there it was, I was healing the deepest issue in my life, which was my relationship with my father. I committed to, like, step in to heal that. And ultimately, I never even shared this with you, but I used my dad as kind of like the umbrella, but in service to really make my relationship with you and Vision better. So all those 2 years was working my process in ultimate to really assist our relationship to heal on a deeper level, and for Vision too, so that it just solidified us into a whole new level of love. And so anyway, back to I needed to give you that backstory, I guess. So I initiated, I purchased, it was like one of my clients, one of my first coaching clients, because I restructured my therapy practice to be a coach. And one of my first payments that I got from coaching, I actually took it and paid for a room at Bodega Bay Lodge, and, like, did this really beautiful kind of ritual ceremony. I took Carlos on a date. A friend of ours watched Vision for us, and we were able to just go and spend the night by ourselves. And I just built this beautiful altar and made it an intentional ritual kind of lovemaking experience of, like, I really laid down the need to withhold love altogether in our marriage. Like, no matter what area, no matter what topic, like I laid down the pattern of ever needing to withhold love.
Wow.
And so we made love from that place for, like, hours and hours, hours and hours and hours. And it was like one of the most epic times. And it was just, I could see how loved he felt. Like,
Mm.
I made love to him with my every part of me, like my
Mm.
face, everything. Like, and he just loved it, and it was amazing. And I hope that's not too my. But
That's
yeah, it was a really powerful experience. So I feel like now we're riding on the energy of coming, like a homecoming with that in a way, because
mm,
it's been a deep working of my process around that all. And yeah.
beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. It was beautiful. And um, by the way, I have wonderful memories of being at the Bodega Bay Lodge with my wife. We used to go there. So I know
Oh,
exactly that lodge. We would be in a room with a fireplace. I'm
yeah.
remembering the restaurant, the beaches across
Yeah.
the street. I know it. Yeah, so it's very cool. Um, Charlie, as you heard her sharing that, what touched you? Like, what stands out? Because that was beautiful. By the way, everything you shared was great. Gave me a chance to know you more, Dawn. But
Thanks.
what stands out for you in her recounting of that experience?
Oh, um, just how spoiled I was that weekend.
Mm.
Yeah, super blessed. I, I really, I can't complain ever.
How are you at receiving? How are you at feeling deserving of that quality of attention on a consistent basis?
That's interesting. So this has definitely been a thing that's been a thing since we've been together. I've always kind of been in relationships where like my partner is like really into me, and I think that may have spoiled me because I got with Don, and like Don was just like, "You got to spoil me," which has been great. So I've had the time of my life. But then there's times where like I want to get snuggled,
Yeah.
but it's cool. I have no complaints. That's my complaint. She doesn't snuggle me. I have to snuggle her.
So I'm not going to let you wiggle off the hook like that. So I get how much you adore her, and I get how beautiful it was when she really just ravished you and adored you. And oftentimes, when we love someone as much as you clearly love her, there's a deservability that can come up in our sexuality that is worth exploring. How available am I to really receive that level, that quality of intimacy? I get that you're a good looking guy and girls have always been into you, but I'm talking about like the depth of loving experience that she described that night in Bodega Bay. How are you at really claiming, I want more of that? I deserve more of that. And not from an intellectual place, from a more of a embodied inside your own self-esteem place.
Um, there's definitely been a lot of times where I don't feel my best is good enough.
Mm-hmm.
So even though I'm working as hard as I am, it can be perceived as um, not as hard because I'm not stressing out over my life. So like I'll be working hard, but like a lot of people want to like show the stress that they're going through, whereas like I'm just looking
Mm-hmm.
for the zen in everything I do, no matter how hard I'm working. So
Yeah.
I'll like be looking chill, and she looking at me like, "Are you working?" And it's just like, I, I am, but I'm not like, God, what
Mm.
a day. Like, I'm just doing my best to just be as chill as possible, always. And it
Yeah.
comes across like that. So I think everyone in my life, where they're just like, this guy doesn't care. And it's just like,
Mm.
wow, I'm the hardest working person here. But when I'm chill, I don't care. It's just
Interesting.
like, yeah, I just sometimes I feel like I can't win for losing.
Mm.
But at the same time, I'm not gonna like change who I am. I enjoy finding the zen in life.
Yeah, it's a beautiful quality. And it's actually connected to the virtue she talked about earlier that, no matter what, you're patient and you're stable. You've got a stability. Um,
Mm.
and sometimes, the movies don't present the stable guy as sexy. The sexy guy in the movies is the radical guy on a bike, the guy who's not stable, the guy who's taking risks and outrageous. And, we aren't taught that stability is sexy. But, and so there's just like women have to deal with kind of the Madonna horror complex, men have to deal with a woman really wants a guy to be stable, but she also wants a guy to be sexy. And sexy and stable don't always go together until a woman has reached a certain level of maturity. Does that kind of land?
Yeah, for sure.
That
For
makes
sure.
sense.
For sure. Yeah, that's true. I've always been the nice guy.
Right.
There's
Yeah.
always
And
finished last. It's horrible.
yeah. I've always been the nice guy too, and when we were younger, having to deal with the most horrible words you could ever hear, let's just be friends. Let's just be
Ever.
friends.
Yeah.
Worst, just the worst. Um,
I had to say that
so
quite a few times. Sorry.
it's okay.
It doesn't feel good for the woman to have to say it either, but when you
No, I
also
know it's
get
so
on it.
awkward.
It
So
is.
awkward. So awkward for everybody. It's just like, yeah. So, Dawn, since we're into something juicy, is there anything that he just shared that was either new, important reminder for you?
Well, it just opens my eyes to see how he approaches his outlook on everything, that he's just really like, it's true. He is operating from a place of like, no matter what, I'm going to stay zen about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nice to hear him say that. And I don't need him to be, come off as stressed. Like, I don't want my partner to be stressed at all. I do feel that there is a level of, I feel like there's transformation happening within that, though, because I think you had asked him about receiving and like his level of emotional capacity to really feel that love in that space.
Mm-hmm.
And then he spoke about approaching it from a place of Zen. So that was an interesting answer to that question for me.
See? Can't even get the answer right.
No. So let's stay with this because this is really beautiful. What stood out for me, I take it all in, but what stood out for me was a perception that no matter what I do, it's never quite good enough.
Yeah.
And that again was related to worthiness because just kind of being real, from my perception is when a man loves a woman as much as Charlie loves Dawn, there is this kind of baseline perception that to the degree she really is hot for me or wants me inside of her is the degree that she really adores and respects me. That tends to be, now that may or may not be true for Charlie, but that tends to be pretty true. We tend to, and it's archetypal, he adores you, he loves you, you're his inspiration, you're his muse, you're his woman, you're his beloved. Clearly he holds you in that kind of high esteem. And when a man holds a woman in high esteem like that, often his perception of how he thinks you relate to him sexually has a lot to do with his perception of how good he's doing, how much he's showing up as a man, how successful he is as a man. So again, it started with in the bedroom, how he feels. Can you receive her love and adoring you the way she did in Bodega Bay? And he pretty quickly went to, no matter what I do, it's not good enough. So do you see how I'm kind of tying that together a little bit?
Mm.
And so, if I may, I would just encourage you, Dawn, to really celebrate all that he does. And you did at the beginning of our thing. You made it really clear, But, and the celebration doesn't have to be with the level of giving him all your body like you did in Bodega Bay, but maybe more kisses, maybe more in
Appreciation.
bed appreciations.
Appreciation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm guessing, and this is a guess, but I'm guessing combining appreciation with loving touch. I'm imagining that appreciation with loving touch would go a long way. Is that accurate,
Yeah.
Charlie?
Touch is his main love language.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense to me. It's a very, very good observation, and really, I say yes.
Her love language is acts of service, so I'm working on it.
I want to go back to you for a moment because, again, I noticed that you go to her and working on it, and I'm just again going to ask you, how are you doing? Like right now, I made a suggestion to her, and she said, yes, I agree to do that. How are you at receiving that?
Great.
Okay, good, good. Yeah, because he's a keeper, and I want him to receive more love.
I do too.
Beautiful. Good job, you guys. All right, let's move on. The next question: how do you two do as problem solvers? A problem comes up in your life on a scale of 1 to 10. How do you do as problem solvers? And oftentimes couples will say, we're really good at solving problems with our kid, but really struggle with problems with whatever. So, if there's a disparity in the type of problem, you can address that. But in general, how do you do as problem solvers? Get a number in mind, and then I think it's Charlie's turn to go first.
8.
Dawn?
I think we used to be at 5 or 6, and now I would say we're more towards like 7, 8.
Okay.
I think we've really grown in that area we've had a lot of hardship over the last quite chunk of time. So I think it really forced us to figure things out.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Which areas do you do really well in problem solving, and which areas are still a challenge?
Well, I would say the challenge is just finances, like everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Our own bills. Seems to be the thing we argue over.
Mm-hmm.
But not really anymore. I wouldn't say we don't really
argue.
We used to, and that is one of the intentions that I held when I went through graduate school, is to really work that process of like, why do I argue around it? And and now I feel like it's really just a conversation. Like, even with the loss of like my old job and the whole change through COVID, the bills that have come forward, it's been like, hey, this needs to be paid, that needs to be, it's just a conversation now. And I feel really, there's no charge around it. It just feels, I'm really approaching it from a neutral place, and that can get solved. So I really can see the growth in our relationship in that area.
Beautiful.
I don't know if you can feel, if you feel that way, but I completely feel that way.
All right. Some of these kind of weave together because you already started addressing this next one. How do you do with communication? How's your communication skills with each other?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the great things when we first started dating was Don was very clear that we never go to bed angry.
Oh, that's a beautiful one.
Meant staying up till 7 in the morning like we did one time.
Mm.
Mhm.
That's beautiful.
I pretty much made it a rule. Like he was playing this piano, and we hadn't even made love or anything. We were literally just started dating, and I sat down next to him and I looked at him and I was like, if we're gonna do this, then it just means that I'm gonna call you out on your shit, and you better call me out on mine. Because like that, there's no point in having a relationship to really grow and evolve if that's not going to be the case, and I need to know that you're going to do that.
Beautiful. So, just in terms of numbers, for me to put a little short, what numbers would you each come up with for communication?
I'm high on the scale. I think it's like 9.5, even a 10 a lot, because
9.9.
Woo! All right.
I mean, because we have those difficult conversations. I don't feel like I hold anything back from him. Like, I tell him how I feel. Like, there's nothing I can talk about everything, no matter what. So
Beautiful.
and even when I'm scared, I'll just say, hey, I'm kind of scared to say this, but you need to know this, I feel safe in my communication with him.
That's wonderful. You guys, by the way, you guys are like having like the highest scores. I mean, really, truly, it's, But
Awesome.
we're only halfway through. We've got about 6 left. So, how do you do on a scale of 1 to 10 with supporting each other professionally? Supporting the other person's professional work aspirations, etc. Got your numbers in mind? Okay. Dawn's turn.
I feel like this is the new area of growth for both of us. I feel like it used to be probably like a 5 or a 6, and now I would say it's more 7, 8, because, and it's interesting because I just like wrote out my whole like vision for the business I'm building, and I was like, I need you to see this, because he's helping behind the scenes and like just right beside me on a lot of it, and I feel like we're just having a upgrade in our communication there, and simultaneously in his field of work too. I feel like I've been more supportive over the last few years. So I think it all ties in with the work I've done in graduate school too, and just the non-need to fight about finances, that we're figuring it out, all of that. It's all kind of interwoven and tied together.
Sure. What comes up for you, Charlie?
I would think I'm like a 9. As far as me supporting her, right? Or her supporting me?
Both ways.
Yeah,
And you
I'm
can,
like,
and
I'm like
sometimes both.
10, man. Got you.
You
Uh,
do.
For me, how I feel her supporting me. This one time I wanted to like show her some bachata dancing, and she was just like, "What is this music?" And I was like, "It's like the thing, bruh." And she was just like, "I don't know." So I had to like mellow out and like, okay. And then my other
I think you got his feelings
fantasy,
really hurt, and I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings.
my other fantasy is making music together.
mm,
But I mean, like, yeah, that's a whole other can of worms. But yes, no, I do my best to support this lady with her
And I want to do
work.
my best to support you.
You do. You totally do. You totally do. Happy with vision. Like this whole quarantine's been a whole little blessing for us on a lot of different levels. Even though the financial part is like all like wacky right now, like for us to just stop and all three of us just like be together has been pretty cool.
what kind of work do you do, Charlie?
I'm a dance instructor, and I also help in the legal cannabis world.
Oh, okay. Oh, cool.
Yeah, movie producer and music maker. He's yeah. does a lot of things.
So, I did feel again kind of a tender place. It's really sweet. He wants to make music together. That's like a fantasy that he has. And so, what would you need, Dawn, to just take a couple steps in that direction?
Well, we were actually talking about it today. Because I'm having a natural inclination and desire to create some videos and meditations, and so it's actually stimulating that desire to work together in that way. It might not be in the way he's perceived it in his mind, but spirit's kind of activating it in me to, like, I made a request for it today, actually.
True.
Mm-hmm.
And how's that feel to you, Charlie?
Love it. Bring it.
Good. Good. Is that kind of a common thing? Like she's the muse, she gets the spiritual or guidance and inspiration, and then you back it up with your masculine strength? Is that a common dynamic with you two?
I guess so.
I've written some songs for her, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. I personally think that that's actually a really healthy marriage, where the divine feminine, where she can relax and feel so safe that she does become a conduit for inspiration. Some people would call it God or the Holy Spirit. And the man provides the strength, and then as she gets that inspiration, the man provides the power to back up that inspiration. So I think that that's a healthy divine masculine, divine feminine dynamic.
Beautiful. Thank you for reflecting that to us.
Yeah, I see that with you two. It's really beautiful, actually. You guys are like the easiest couple I've worked with in a long time. There's
Really?
a gay, yeah. There's two women that I'm working with right now that are also they really adore each other and they're high level. But yeah, you two have you got a really beautiful marriage.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's almost too easy. It's almost like, come on, I gotta show how brilliant I can be when people are struggling. So
I'm really thankful for not struggling.
yeah, no, I am too.
We've definitely been working on it.
Oh, we have. We've been working our process for sure. Like,
wonderful labor of love.
We have. I mean, we went through some really challenging years together. So you're seeing us after
some battles,
a deep dive of, like, we lost our
battle
home.
tested.
Seriously, we went through it. So
yeah. Well, you guys are great. Okay, we got a few left. How do you do with supporting each other's spiritual growth or practice? And that could be a musical instrument, martial arts, yoga. It doesn't have to be religious necessarily, but how do you do with supporting each other with whatever spiritual growth or practice each one may have? It doesn't have to be the same thing. Charlie, you go first.
I've had moments of self-enlightenment, so I'm kind of spoiled to the point now where I'm like not putting in the work I used to. So I think just for me, like, I'm needing to kick myself in the butt and like get back on point with my yoga and my personal practice. But like, I mean, as far as Dawn's support in that department, like, I mean, that's why I married her. Like, I knew from the get-go this woman had an existing strong relationship with Source. So
yeah, clearly.
I knew that there was that bedrock, this strong foundation that we could build upon.
Yeah. Do you want to assign a number?
So her support for me is, I feel, a 10. My support for her, I mean, I'll do anything for her. So I mean, but actual like supporting her to do her yoga, like, I don't know, like she's doing it, like, what do I mean? I don't know. I just need to get out of the way sometimes. Like she's like doing her thing. So
Yeah.
I like to think I'm like, well, I'm gonna go. I'm a 6. I'm supporting her as a 6. I could be doing more.
Okay. Is that true for you, Dawn?
I feel like it's a 10. Like, I don't feel he doesn't support me. I feel like he supports me. I mean, there's things that I would love to like map out a real practice and have a real solid schedule. And I think this is something I'm cultivating myself still in my own life with my business and things. Like everything's changed so quickly with COVID, but it's a deep opportunity to where am I changing and how do I want to change it and what new strategies can I implement into my life. So I do have spiritual things that I do daily, and it's important to me. And I have a bedtime routine that I like to do in the morning, But even this morning, he came over to me and like snuggled, and then I was like, all right, well, you're gonna just be a part of this, and I just gave him the earbud, and we listened to like, Astarius, this thing that I like to listen to, and he listened, and it was sweet. We got our cuddle and we, because that's important to him. I think that's a part of his morning practice is morning snuggles and cuddles.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did both together.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Ah, beautiful.
Sunday morning.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. It's really, really, really nice. Okay, next one. You guys mentioned it briefly. How do you do with finances? How do you two do with finances? And again, we'll just say the last 6 months. Because I know it goes up and down.
I'm ready for it to just do this.
Last 6 months has been tough. Last 6 months has been tough. Yeah. So I'm sorry. So the question is like how on a
How
scale
you two
from
do,
10?
yeah, as a
At
couple.
supporting each other.
Yeah, how do you, let's put this way, let's say with managing finances. So whether you're thick or thin, how do you do with managing finances?
Man, I'm gonna give myself a grade of 5 right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is the area of our lives that we're really deeply reworking, and I feel the same. Like I'm ready to like bump it up many notches, And I think that's just like the deep inquiry on the table for myself through losing my job that wasn't serving me and now birthing my online business and coaching practice full time. I'm finally getting in to give it the full attention that it deserves.
Yeah.
So, which is a great opportunity, right? But in that is a lot of dreaming and goal setting and like, well, okay, now's where I really get to see all this come to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and it's also simultaneously, I'm doing a lot of deep exploring of like, what are the limiting money beliefs that have been in my family dynamic, that are in me, that have created all of this so that I can be free and really create a new that's better for my family and I. That's where my head's at.
Yeah.
My heart.
Is it?
I would say it's probably, I would say like 6, 7. Like, I'm ready to take it into the 10, past the 10. Because I just see money as a tool. I want to help people and I want to grow a company that really thrives and helps people and have a big impact in the world. And money is a tool to assist that to happen.
Okay. Last question about money, then we'll move on. How are you two doing at really planning together, going through bills together, creating a budget together?
We play well together. We don't really plan well together. We talk in passing, I think, and like talk about stuff, and it's like, great, yeah, let's do it. And then we don't actually
all the time. We're gonna do the thing. Yeah, okay. We're gonna do the thing.
So then life happens and it gets so busy.
So just be in the awareness that usually, because clearly money stuff has been challenging for you both, as it is for many people. And so it's human nature for us to hang out where it's comfortable and avoid what's uncomfortable. And so, as your friendly free coach for the day, I just encourage you, when you're well resourced, create some time to do some real strong talk about money, including creating a budget together, doing projection together, maybe sharing, okay, what are some of my fears? What are some of my resistance? Because you two have such a beautiful love and you are best friends and you are solid, and our money wounds need work. And if you guys can set time to talk it through and then really literally put your heads together, literally pray together or make love together, do sex magic together or do visioning together. And notice as you're doing those things, as you're visioning or as you're doing it, where are there blocks? Where's the resistance? Because it's then safe to say, well, I'm noticing I have a fear that, I have a block here that. Because most people, the big blockages are in sexuality and finances. The two tend to go together quite often. And ultimately, then it becomes a deservability issue. That's why I was kind of working with, you know, Charlie on deservability to receive that level of love. Both of you may want to look at, okay, where are my issues of deservability around financial abundance? And remember that you carry strong ancestral stuff. All of us have the trauma of our ancestors in our genetic code going back at least 7 generations. And most of us had ancestors that starved, that lived on potatoes, that, went through famine or went through, a poor crop year or whatever it was. So there's a lot of scarcity issues that we have in our ancestral lineage around money and finances. And I just invite you to spend some time looking at that and working on it for the purpose of changing it.
I make that commitment to you.
I recommit that to you. Full stop.
Beautiful.
I think it would be best if we just chose like a day of the week to have the conversation, or just map it out on the calendar these days.
Make an appointment.
Yeah. That way it doesn't get skipped.
Yeah.
Gotta make appointments with my wife.
You definitely have to make appointments. Absolutely. And I encourage you to really look at where, as you start imagining a greater level of success than either of you have had, or have at least have had recently, where's the resistance? Where's their fear? And use your friendship to be honest. I'm afraid that. I'm afraid that if I shoot too high, I'll disappoint you. I'm afraid that if I make too much money, I'll surpass you. I mean, I'm not saying that either of those are real, but just as examples, like where is there fear in the field? Where is the resistance in the field? Where are there mental gremlins? I'll give you one last little tip here. When you're visioning something for the future, and you're doing visioning or I am affirmations, notice what are the gremlins poking at you saying, this is bullshit. You can't do that. She won't do that. He won't do that. Notice where you have mental gremlins poking at you. Not for the purpose of giving your power away to the mental gremlin, but becoming aware that it's in there. And then ask yourself, is this an authority figure that I've taken on? Or is this one of my own sub-personalities? Is this an authority figure that once said something to me, right? Because we give our power away to authority figures. Can I give you an example of that? This is really fascinating. Yeah. I was working with a couple, this was a few months ago now, and she's a very attractive woman, and he was really frustrated because whenever she'd say, he'd say to her, "You're so beautiful." She said, "No, I'm not. I'm ugly." And it was crazy. I mean, it'd be like Dawn saying she's ugly. I mean, this was an attractive woman. And so, and it was like this pattern in the relationship. It was really frustrating to him. So she and I did a private session, and she said, "Oh, I've always known I'm ugly." And so I took her into a slight hypnotherapy thing and asked her, "Where did you first come to the conclusion that you were ugly?" And all of a sudden, she remembers this memory she hadn't thought of consciously in decades. She's on the playground. She's about 6 or 7 years old. She's fairly new. School is, she's only been going to school for maybe a year or two. And there's this little freckle-faced boy who's like maybe 2 years older than her, looking at her going, "You're ugly. Do you know how ugly you are?" She had no idea what his name was, but she could remember him. And because he was 2 years older, to a 6 or 7 year old girl, an 8 or 9 year old boy is an authority figure. And that little bugger had gotten into her brain. And for decades, she believed she was ugly because he was the very first experience of an older boy reflecting back what she looked like. Isn't that amazing?
It is.
And so I was really sad. And you know what? We all have stuff like that, right? We all have where an authority figure, it's like people that are Mensa level intelligence, but when they first started doing math, "What's wrong with you? You can't do math." And now they believe, "I can't do math." Or the kid who, when he's throwing the ball, someone says, "What's wrong with you? You throw like a girl. You can't throw at all." And now when he goes to throw, his arm automatically contracts because I can't throw the ball properly. Most of us have contractions like that. And as adults, they show up most often in our perception of the way we look or our perception around money and success. That's where we have the most gremlins. We don't want to surpass our father. We, took on, what the culture we grew up in, taught us, you know. Were you by any chance, Charlie, raised in the Catholic faith?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Would you describe yourself as a recovering Catholic?
I appreciate that Catholicism taught me how to pray, but the politics of it all were always weird to me.
The guilt.
The guilt, yeah. That's why I'm kind of going there, because I'm being Latin. I'm guessing you were raised Catholic, and it's hard. Catholicism is a very shame-based way to grow up that creates, you can only, you must suffer. And it's beautiful that you have transcended that you are the hardest working guy in the room, but you're not willing to suffer. So that's evolution from a traditional Catholic upbringing. Because there's often it's spiritual to suffer, because Jesus, murdered himself. So that's often in a cultural upbringing, not always, but often with a Catholic upbringing. Any of that ring bells?
Yeah,
Definitely.
Yeah.
I can definitely see that there's shame and guilt in the family lineage that can be tied to finances, to beliefs there that, and even for my personal side of things, my history, I can see how when we went through a process of losing our home, actually it was an opportunity to heal a really deep trauma that happened with my grandfather. And I didn't even realize this till many years later. And here it is still coming forward for me with losing my job recently. I've been worried about losing our home. And it's here it is again, this undercurrent theme around, just the whole energy of that. And I realized, oh my God, this is exactly the energy my dad was working with, why he built the house for my grandfather, when it just it's a deep family thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. We are here to heal, honor, or manage our ancestral wounding, our cultural wounding and our ancestral wounding.
Yeah.
That's a big part of our our lives because we do have so much freedom. We have such extraordinary freedom and such extraordinary abundance, and we now have the time and the tools to work on those issues. Whereas our great grandparents, that were doing three jobs or were, just in constant survival, they didn't have the time or the tools to deal with the alcoholism or the scarcity issues or the domestic violence or the low self-esteem or whatever was in the family lineage.
Mm.
I need 60 seconds to close the curtain and to go to the bathroom while you
Yes.
reflect on this. I'll be right back. Cool.
Okay.
And if you guys need a bathroom break, go for it. We'll be about 15 more minutes.
Okay. Bathroom break?
I'm good. Go for it.
Turn off the top.
Hey, Jazzy. Want to get some water? Or are you done?
I have a little bit of tea left. It's
Whoa,
kind of like my tea bag.
what's
Just
that?
my tea just decided to break in there. It's tea, but it.
How'd you do that?
It's the tea bag broke.
What if we do this?
Okay, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. Oh wait, there's water over there in that jug.
Now will you drink it?
Mm-hmm.
He's not gonna drink. Okay.
How's this going for you, Charlie?
Good. Really good, actually. I tried not to create any expectations going into it, other than to help Dawn.
Oh, well, it's beautiful to get to know you, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, we got just a few left. How do you do with nurturing each other? How do you do with nurturing each other? And definitely, it might be a different score. Like maybe one of you feels like you nurture the other one at a higher number, or not. But again, so there's kind of potentially four answers as opposed to two answers. All right, I think it's well. Charlie came up with the thumb first, so we'll go with Charlie first.
She spoils me.
Oh,
I'm spoiled.
nice.
I'm spoiled, for sure. Yeah.
So
So my number to her, she deserves better. She spoils me. I'm spoiled. So I'm probably like I need to be better. I need to be way better. I'm probably like 5.5. I need to massage your feet more often. Like every day.
I'll receive that.
Every day.
every day. That's it. Women, yeah, especially a woman who does some dancing. Yeah.
Every day. Rubbing the feet every day.
All right. And your kind of the way you nurture her would be 5.5. The way she nurtures you is a 10. Is that what I'm hearing?
For sure.
Okay. And how's that? What are your numbers, and then how does what he said land with you?
I didn't realize that he feels that way. On the, I feel very like nurtured emotionally and spiritually in the marriage. I felt completely nurtured. On the physical realm of just being physically provided for has been the challenge. And that's been a deep opportunity for me to heal all the triggers with that in myself, you know, and I think that's why we've have the artist life and the, you know, the way it's been an opportunity, and I'm using it as my spiritual opportunity to heal, you know, and I think that it's been great. So we're finally at the place in our marriage where we're actually talking about all the things, and it's just a conversation now. We don't fight about it. I feel like we're finally on the precipice of finally solidifying and healing, like all the areas we've needed to work on. We're really starting to kind of get a magnifying glass and really like look at it and be like, all right, here's where we can grow more here, you know? So it's great to be having this conversation personally because it helps us both clue in. I feel like nurtured completely on it, spiritually and emotionally, always, without a shadow of a doubt. I feel completely held, nurtured, like a 10. The places that I felt up until lately, things are shifting, you know, because he's working hard, and I acknowledge that, and I'm so grateful for that because you are giving it your best. And I really am committed to helping you weigh down the curriculum of feeling like your best is not good enough. I don't know where that's from, and I don't want to ever have that come across that that's me giving you that. No, I want to initiate dissolving that. And as far as
I just want to stay with that because it was really powerful what she's just offering. So I just want to really anchor that in. So, Shirley, are you willing to really maybe do some homework within yourself and talking to Dawn about where do those ideas, again, those gremlins, those mental thoughts, come from? That no matter what you do, it's never good enough. Where does that come from?
No matter what I did financially, it was never enough to have her home full time.
Yeah.
But is like beyond our relationship, I just want to explore, is there an imprint maybe from a family member or a teacher or a cultural, it could, you know, sometimes we come in with these things that like it's just an imprint that could be there.
No, it was just literally like, I'm here and you're way over there. And no matter how hard I worked, it was just.
But is there more to it besides just relating with me? Could it be a theme or a story that you could find in other relationships or places? Is it a feeling that's been there longer than I've been in your life? Like even from childhood or?
No, not really.
Did you ever, anybody else ever have, did you ever have that experience or feeling?
No.
So
no,
just go ahead with what you were going to say.
My personal results, like through high school, was like I worked hard and like my team was a champion. Like I'm a high school champion athlete. Like I'm used to like winning hard. But I just so this has been nice. This has been nice having you home.
So I'm really, I want to just stay with this for one minute. I'm really hearing and feeling how hard it's been that you had to leave and be away to make money for the household. And that that he has a lot of sadness around that.
So do I.
Yeah. And so it sounds like that's a really strong underlying pain for both of you. And not that you should feel guilty, Charlie, but is there a part of you that has felt guilty about that?
Guilty? No, because my whole goal was to work however hard I needed to work in order to provide a roof
Mm-hmm.
over our heads.
Okay, good.
That I could have her home.
Yeah.
So do I feel guilty? No.
Good, good, really good.
Really good.
That is good, because often a man could feel guilty, that again, on the thing, no matter what I do, it's not enough money, and she has to go do this other job that requires what that particular job requires. So it's cool that you've managed the guilt. When I've coached other men in similar situation, they haven't managed the guilt. They do feel guilty. And then I take them into underneath the guilt is care, the deep care, that exists. But if you've managed, that's cool. You are managing that. That's where that kind of Zen, thing comes in as really a more mature approach, a more mature understanding.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I don't understand how you would feel guilty though for like.
Well, I mean, again, we have a deep imprint as the man to be the provider,
Right.
Yeah. So it starts with I'm not providing enough,
Right.
And then my beloved is doing something that includes dancing, her body, traveling, being away from the home, being away from the nest, which is unnatural. Like on a primal level, the woman stays and is in the nest, and the man goes out and hunts and forages. So it's unnatural in our primal thinking. And then things that are unnatural like that can create, weird head trips.
Oh, okay. That's what you're saying. I could see if I was just like at home, kicking it, while she was out bringing home the bacon. But I never did that.
Good. Yeah, good. All right. I got just a couple left. How do you do with rest and relaxation?
I'm ready for more of it.
Great.
I mean, yeah.
Scores come to mind?
I'm gonna say I'm truly like at an 8, and I'm ready to live into the 10s in that area, because it's been a while since I've been on vacation and gotten to do, just complete leisure.
Oh, how? Okay.
Yeah, how do you do with like creating rest and relaxation together? Your influence, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I should write down creating.
Like we do great on vacation.
Great. Oh, we're a 10 when we're on vacation, but
you guys just answered one of the questions, so I'm gonna put that in there because one of them is how do you deal with traveling and taking vacations? So 10's there. So with creating rest and relaxation, as opposed to creating an environment where there's more anxiety or more nervousness or more go, got to do this.
Yeah. Yes, more creation. 7, 6.5.
Yeah.
6.5 for each of you. Okay, so let me go there.
I think I'm bouncing. I mean, it's definitely, there's areas that it needs to grow, because even with quarantine, I went from being very busy, and then I just transposed that busyness into like in a different way. It's like all of a sudden I find myself being very, very busy here, and it's all things I've wanted to do that I didn't ever get a chance to do. Yeah. So I'm utilizing it for that. But I noticed, like, gosh, it would be really nice to just have complete rest and relaxation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. So I put down for him a 6.5, and for you, it kind of goes between a 6 and an 8. Is that
Yeah.
accurate, Dawn?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Only 2 left. How do you do as roommates? How do you do making house together? Domesticity. How do you do as roommates?
It was one of my games growing up as a kid. I used to love playing house.
Oh,
So to finally get to do it with my best friend, I've been having a good time.
We're both homebodies. We love being at home, so it's good. We enjoy home. It's fun for us. I would say it's getting better as far as distributing like the household chores.
household chores, yeah.
I think in the past I used to have a lot of resentment, feeling like angry that it was more on my shoulders, and then coupled with like being away and working all the time, things got wildly out of balance, and we used to fight about that kind of stuff. But now it feels like quarantine has just brought in a huge level of complete change and rebalancing for our life. And so even like he's working, it's now he's leaving the house and going, and I'm home with Vision. It's complete flip-flop.
Yeah.
But it's a blessing, and I'm working, but I'm working from home, and then I get to be with Vision, and it's like I'm incorporating chores into Vision's life, which he's needed to learn.
Very good.
And even when I come home and there's things like, for instance, Carlos's laundry, I'm like, I'll do it sometimes, and then sometimes like today it was needing to be completed, and I was like, hey, your laundry, and he's like, okay. And like we've been sharing with the cat and all the different things that have to be done. It's just like, hey, would you mind? He's like, yeah, no problem. So it's
great.
It's just
That's great.
Conversation now. It's not we don't make it a thing.
Great. So scores?
I would say we're an 8 for me.
Yeah, I can always do better.
Yeah. Okay. 8 for each of you?
Yeah. He's been doing a lot better. I've made requests around specific things like laundry on the floor and those kind of things. And I've made requests to both of them, and they actually
I don't leave my laundry on the floor.
Never.
Vision.
Never.
It's Vision.
sometimes.
A 9-year-old boy is more likely to do that.
Wow.
Do you two ever work together? Is there any kind of work that you do together?
We're starting to.
Because that's the next question, is how do you do with working together, if that's applicable?
I think we're going to do really well working together, and I think we've had this desire our whole relationship and never found a way to really do it.
Yeah.
Other than the house and Vision. But I think we're really finally stepping into that zone of like, I wrote out on my whiteboard like my whole business structure, like, online courses, monthly subscription, high-end coaching, like the whole picture. And so that he could see like, okay, these are the things that we need to focus on now. This is the bigger picture. And it's like, I even was like, you're hired in the text message while I was on the treadmill about giving him his job description, in the company. It was great. Like, I think we're choosing to go in that direction together. And I'm like, I can't do all this alone, and I need your support. And he even sat and was super helpful with the ebook. I'm writing an ebook, and so I'm designing it in Canva right now. And I was like, what do you think? Like, look at it. And he's like editing, and it's great. We're enjoying
Beautiful. It. So any particular numbers that you want to put there? Even though it's new?
When we work together, like on a job site together, like
I feel like a 9, 10. Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like we're both really show up and do like committed people when we're in and we commit to doing something. We both show up. So,
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right. And the very last question of the basic thing: do you have any other common interests or hobbies that you do together? Do you have any kind of, obviously there's the children's section, but is there like a hobby that you do together or a common interest that's a significant part of your life together?
We love to go to Burning Man
I
together.
totally. I just was thinking that.
We're a
Yeah.
bit of religious nuts about it.
we love Burning Man. It's true. Festivals, Burning Man, fun activities. I think camping too. We enjoy camping and don't get to do enough of it. Vacationing, yoga. We both love yoga too.
More yoga.
See, that's the spiritual practice part. You know, if you have a practice and more yoga. So yeah, what would you give each other then on a score of like doing Burning Man, doing festivals together? Sounds like that's pretty high also.
For sure.
It has been, yes.
Yeah.
We've somehow pulled it off many, many, many times.
Beautiful.
And we
I
would have
loved how
gone
excited.
later, so they got canceled.
Yeah.
You coming
Is
with
Burning
us?
Man
Victor?
is Burning Man officially canceled for this year?
Yeah, it is.
First time ever.
Wow.
Scott, you coming with us next year?
You know, I enjoy Burning Man, but I always ask myself, would I rather take that 2 weeks? Because to me, Burning Man is really 2 weeks.
It
There's
is.
Have you been?
preparation, there's the week there, and then there's decompression. So it's a 2 week commitment, right?
So you've been.
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And so my deal with Burning Man is, okay, would I rather spend 2 weeks doing that or 2 weeks doing something else, right? That's the first question.
For sure.
And then if I'm going to do Burning Man, three things. I've got to be at a really fun camp. I've got to have my own RV, and we have to have
Yes.
bicycles. You know, that's just bottom line. And there's times in my life where, hey, getting an RV, I can afford it, no sweat. And there's other times in my life where it's a little bit of a stretch, right? There's times in my life where I can take 2 weeks off, and there's times in my life where can I really take 2 weeks off? So that's kind of what comes up for me with Burning Man. Plus, I don't do psychedelics anymore. You know, Burning Man was so much fun with psychedelics. You know, it's like, kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I haven't gone in a few years, and I stopped doing psychedelics about, I don't know, 10 years ago. So I think that there's that part of it too. You know, like, okay, if I go, am I going to do psychedelics again? Do I want to do psychedelics again? Am I trying to replay past glory psychedelic experiences? But yet, Burning Man without psychedelics is kind of like, you know.
Great. Great. It's great. It's great. Without anything. We're all out there just surviving together is super high. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Well, now thank you for that. Thank you. All right. All right. I'll come with you guys to Burning Man next time.
Yes.
I'll tell you, I have one other Burning Man story. You know, I live up near Harbin Hot Springs, and burners always come through Harbin on their way back. And for many, many years until Harbin burned down, I was the empathy guy at Harbin. I ran the compassionate communication classes. I did my retreats there. Management would hire me to help them with stuff. And literally, I would set up during the days right after Labor Day, after Burning Man. I would be at Harbin and literally just counseling all the people whose wife ran off with somebody at Harbin. You know, the people.
Oh, wow.
No, really, because it's like so much shit happens at
Yeah.
Burning Man, right? Some of it really exciting and some of it really traumatic. And so I was just always at Harbin, and literally I would be in the temple just counseling, you know, hours at a time, giving emergency empathy support. And I always thought the next time I go to Burning Man, I should just set up with love coaches the emergency empathy camp where people
I
come
can get you
together.
connected with my friend Chelsea who runs the Zendo.
Truth.
If you
What's
really
Chelsea?
want.
Yeah, what's Chelsea's last name?
Rose.
Chelsea Rose. No, I don't think I know her.
She goes by Mama Bear.
Okay.
It's with the Zendo. Yeah, it's
Okay.
full on. Like one of my best friends is at MFT, and she, we were gonna camp with that camp and participate at the Zendo, like helping out. If you really
Yeah.
want to.
That's their whole thing.
Yeah.
Because there
It's
was
supporting-
another camp that like all the people were coming to them when they were just like blitzed and like going down bad rabbit
Just
holes.
anytime anybody's struggling with anything,
And they were like, that's cool. We support you guys, but it instead of it being a place where like people can just like have an ascension experience, it turned into like hospital vibe for them, and they're like, yeah, we're here to have a good time too, and like not like be hospital the whole time. So Zendo like was birthed out of that, of being that dedicated place for people to go who are going down bad rabbit holes.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
And definitely it'd be fun to collaborate with them and bring a bunch of love coaches, and take turns. So we're not spending the whole time, but, just kind of balance it out, because, I mean, it's true. It's like, as you know better than I do, because you've probably been to Burning Man more than I have. I've only been there 3 times, but it's always such a life-changing experience.
It is.
Yeah.
It really is.
Well, you guys are fantastic. Congratulations. You're amazing. I'm going to send you you'll see in the relationship inventory, I took you through the basic questions, but then if you want to, there's all these other questions you can go back and work with,
Cool.
just to continue. And when I'm working with a couple where they're really struggling, then we schedule the second session for me to work those questions with them. But you guys are so solid and so strong, you don't need that support.
Thanks.
Yeah, but if you have any questions that come up, feel free to reach out. Hey, Scott, what about this? Or this came up for us. And I definitely want to, we hit on some things that you guys are going to work on. And I'd love to hear how that goes for you. The money talk,
Cool.
the Charlie receiving more physical affection while you tell him how, as you appreciate and stroke him. Yeah. So, yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for this. It was really a beautiful and a good assessment of like really how far we've come,
Yeah, and you know what is great is how your numbers are almost always in alignment. I mean, believe me, there's people, I'll ask the question and he'll say, well, a 9, and she'll go 3, right? They're that disconnected from each other's or from the common perception. So even although almost all your numbers were so high, your perceptions were almost always the same, which is beautiful. It shows that you are in harmony and alignment with a mutual understanding. Even when you're talking about the hard stuff, the hard ones, there's a mutual understanding there, which is one of the major things that I look for, with how a couple's doing, especially with this particular practice.
This is great. I really appreciate it so much. It's been very insightful and very helpful for us. I think we're going to continue the conversation and talk about the places where there is wanting more growth.
Yeah. So our little Facebook message thread where I sent you the message, I'll pop it in there 2 minutes from now.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're going to love our camp. Just saying.
All right. A year from September, we're going to Burning Man together, and we'll bring a bunch of love coaches.
21, Scott.
We'll help bring all the love coaches. We'll
Absolutely. Yeah. We'll announce it so people can plan for it, because Burning Man's one of those things we need to plan for.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
God bless you. Good to get to know you, Charlie. Thank you. And good to get to know you on a deeper level, Dawn.
Yeah, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Have a beautiful Sunday. What's left of it, Sunday night.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Take care.